Today, we're gonna talk all about sound design. I'm gonna show you my workflow, and I am also going to break down how I created this cinematic epic video. So I hope you enjoyed this short clip. I think it turned out really well. Yeah, to be honest, back in the days, I didn't really pay that much attention to sound design. I always tried to spend as little time as possible on adding sound effects, and I thought if I have great visuals and a good song, then I can create amazing videos. But over the last years, I definitely learned that sound design has to be an essential part of my editing workflow because it just has so much potential. A good sound design helps your videos really come to life because you can actually hear all of the things you see, so there's just another sense getting addressed by your videos. Also, it allows you to emphasize specific movements and changes of pace, and overall, it just intensifies the story you're trying to tell. Many of you guys probably already know by now that Artlist is one of my favorite music licensing services that I use for most of my videos. But besides their wide selection of music, they also have a huge sound effects library with all kinds of different sound effects, like for example whooshes and transitions, horror sound effects, cinematic impacts, technology, ball sports, transportation, footsteps, water, and war explosions. So basically you can find a high quality sound effect for anything you imagine. And yeah, Artlist is currently running a sound effects challenge in which you can win amazing equipment prizes worth $10,000 from sponsors like Gian, Nanlite, Adam Audio, Rhodes, Focusrite, and LoomCube. Alright Niklas, we get it. There's a lot of prizes. How does it work?
All you gotta do is follow those 3 simple steps. First, create a 45 seconds to 1 minute video in which you show off your sound design skills. Second, only use music and sound effects from Artlist. Third, make an Instagram carousel post with 3 videos using the following structure: a timeline breakdown with music and sound effects, a timeline breakdown with sound effects only, and the video itself with no timeline. Make sure to use the hashtag #ALSFX challenge and tag @artlist.io in your post.
And bonus points if you upload a behind the scenes breakdown to your YouTube channel or Instagram account with the hashtag #ALSFX challenge in the title, which I'm doing right now, so Artlist, consider those bonus points.
Boy, you kind of snuck up on me there.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
I see that.
You can also participate in the challenge if you don't have a paid Artlist subscription yet. You just have to create a trial account and then you can download a free sound effects pack with hand-picked sound effects that you can use in your video. The challenge starts on April 21st and ends on May 5th, and you can head over to the link in the description to see all the details about the challenge and the prizes you can win. So yeah, if you watched my last video about the Insta360 Go 2, you probably already saw the epic motocross FPV shots, and yeah, as I don't really have the chance to film a professional motocross driver every single day, I couldn't help myself but also shoot a couple of clips with the Sony a7S III and mount a couple of GoPros on the bike and on the FPV drone.
200 FPS slow motion, 360 onboard perspectives, epic FPV shots, and a hell lot of dirt.
That's when I knew that this is the perfect footage to put my sound design skills to the test. So before we jump into Premiere Pro in order to break down the sound design where I show you every single detail, let's first watch the clip again without any music and only the sound effects, and you're also going to have a look at the timeline while you're watching it. Alright, so this is what the project looks like. As you see, I have a lot of different layers. If I scroll down here, you can see that I have 15 different audio layers, which is quite a lot. And yeah, it can easily become very chaotic if you use many different layers of sound effects. So I always try to cluster similar sound effects and follow a simple structure within my timeline. I generally have 6 different styles of audio that I use in my videos. The first one is music, second is atmosphere, which are sound effects of the whole environment. Third is climax, which are rises and drops to build up and release the tension throughout my video. The fourth are essential sound effects, which are basically the things that can be seen in the video themselves. The fifth are movements, where I use whooshes, swishes and impacts, which underline the motion of the camera or the subject. And the sixth one are exaggerations, which are basically sound effects that emphasize the intensity of a specific moment by being exaggerated. So now I'm going to walk you through those different layers of my sound design, and let's start with the music. In order to make it easier for you to see which sound effects are in which category, I gave them different colors so that you can easily see that all of these are the different layers that I just talked about. So up here as the first layer would be the music, and obviously music is a very important part when it comes to the audio side of your video, because music can already create a very impactful feeling for your video, and it also drives the climax, the pace and the structure of your videos. So you should always put a lot of time into finding the right song. If you press this small S icon, which stands for solo track, then you can only hear the sound effects which are in that layer. So I'm always going to do that by clicking on the different solo tracks for the category that we're talking about. So first one is music. As you see in the beginning of the video for the intro, I didn't use any music. I solely relied on sound effects because I really wanted the viewer to be in the moment with the driver himself. But as soon as he starts driving and as he takes off, I obviously wanted to add some music that you can hear right now. I wanted to have some music to really kind of transport the action of the bike jumps and all that kind of stuff. To find this specific song, I applied 3 different filters on Artlist. One was powerful, the other one was angry, and the third one was electronic. I think that these 3 attributes always fit really well to motorbike or motocross scenes. So if we zoom here on the music track, then you can see that the music track itself already has some adjustment and cuts in between itself. First thing I do is also I cut different parts of the song together. So I just see where the drops are, and then I just combine different parts to make it fit to my video, because the video can only be 1 minute and I made it fit to exactly 1 minute. And another thing that I do is apply an effect called low pass filter. So what a low pass filter basically does is it muffles the sound. So if we just play back the slow motion scene here, you can hear it pretty well. So yeah, this is an effect that I often use. For example, if somebody dives into water and it should sound like it's muffled underwater, or also during slow motion scenes, I think that this always comes in really well, because you don't want to have a very loud music during those sequences where you focus on slow motion and a lot of sound design. So in order to apply this low pass effect, you have to select the in and out points where you want this effect to take place. So for me, that would be when it turns into slow motion right here. And I'm just going to select the razor tool, click on the clip, and I make a cut here. And the second cut would be back here when it turns back into real time. I'm just going to make another cut here. And for this middle section, we're now going to search for low pass in the effects panel. I'm just going to drag it on the clip. And on the left side here, you can adjust the value of how muffled the music should actually be. Around 1500, 2000 is always a good value for that. So we're just going to apply it, and then we have the muffled sound that you can hear right now. But the transition is still very hard, so we want to make it smooth, and in order to do that, we're just going to search for constant power, and that is an audio transition that you can just drag over the cut itself, and then you can just zoom in and drag that transition to be longer, and then you have a smooth transition from your normal music to the muffled music. And you're going to do the same at the out point, and then you have a really cool effect. So next up is atmosphere, which is on my second track here. If I'm just going to solo that track again, you can hear that now we only hear the atmosphere. And for this beginning sequence, I used a drone. By saying drone, I don't mean those types of drones. I'm still learning to fly FPV, updates on that coming soon. But with drones, I actually mean ambient sounds that you can find for example in space. So in order to find that sound effect, I just headed over to special effects, then I went over to science fiction, and then drones. And yeah, the cool thing on Artlist is that you just have so many different clusters as well, or different types of sound effects, and it's very easy to find what you're looking for. So I just listened to all of those different drone sound effects and I found one that I liked. So yeah, I think that it adds a lot of mystery and an eerie feeling to these slow motion scenes, and also I used it back here during the slow motion part where the bike is in the air. It's not much, but you can definitely hear it, and if I wouldn't have that ambient sound in the beginning of the video itself, then it would be too quiet probably with only the normal sound effects. So it's really cool to have those kind of undertones slash atmosphere sounds. So next up is Climax, which are all of the green layers here, and I used a lot of different impacts and rises and also bass booms in order to influence the tension of the intro sequence. I really wanted to make that intro sequence very intense, to kind of feel like you're there with the driver himself as he gets ready to drive his motorbike, and he also has these kind of like flashbacks of what could happen and what's going to happen. I wanted to build up a lot of tension, and I did that by using a lot of different drops. So for example, if we just go to the beginning, you can hear this one, the very first drop. It's kind of like that Inception sound effect, this just like If you don't know Inception, go watch it right now. So in order to find that specific sound, I just used this overview on Artlist, and I just went on cinematic impacts, and there I just listened to all of the different sound effects, and as I think the 7th one, there was this one which is called Brahms Impact Heavy Synth Bass Note Vibrating. So that's definitely what I want. And I just listened to the sound here. I loved it, so I clicked on the sound effects artist's name itself, and then you have an overview of all of the sound effects that this guy makes. And I have to say that Sample Tracks is definitely one of my favorites. He has absolutely amazing sound effects. And then here there was this pack called Brahms. And yeah, these were most of the sounds that I used in the intro, because all of them are quite similar. They all have this vibrating structure in the sound itself. So yeah, great sound effect pack. And yeah, so how did I use those different sound effects to build and release tension? I had all of these short clips where the bike rushes through very quickly, which should kind of portray what the driver thinks right now. And then I always have these surprising drops. For example, this one. It's just a really cool way to surprise the viewer and to go back into that slow motion scene. Then I used a riser that I also found on Artlist. Dude, that's so epic. So yeah, I used a riser combined with another impact and a bass boom. So if we listen to them one by one, this would be the riser. This would be the impact. And this would be the bass boom. And all of them combined sound like this. So you see that it's not always just one single sound effect, but often you have to layer them on top of each other, and you have to kind of melt them together into one huge sound effect. So I'm quickly going to show you also some other examples where I use those Climax sound effects, like for example here. So yeah, these sound effects are really important, and it takes some practice to actually know how they all work together, but you just have to practice and you just have to try it out. So next up are essential sound effects. So that basically means that you add sound effects that the people can hear what they see in the video themselves. So for me, those essential sounds obviously were the motocross bike itself, the engine of the bike, when it passes by, when it jumps, when it lands, all that stuff are essential sound effects. If a lot of your videos are about cars or motorbikes, then I have one very important tip for you, which is to record audio right when you're shooting the specific scene, because it's a pain in the ass to find sound effects of cars and motorbikes because you need to have the exact same engine sound while still having a variety of movements. So that's why when we were shooting those clips, I actually recorded internal audio of my camera because it was mounted on a gimbal, so I didn't have the best audio there. But Matthias had a microphone mounted on his camera, and he also captured a lot of different jumps and pass-bys, so I had a wide selection of sound effects to choose from. But still, I needed to reassemble them to kind of make them sound realistic for the viewer. And we can listen what only the motorbike sounds of the driving scenes sound like. One thing that you probably noticed is that there are all of these small dots and lines, and this is a way to adjust the volume of your sound effects. So basically there are two different ways to adjust the audio gain of your sound effects, and one is to right click on the clip and select audio gain, and then you can just click on adjust gain, and now you can add the value of how many decibels it should be adjusted. If I want to make it louder, I just type in 5 and click OK, and now the sound effect is louder. And the second way to adjust the volume of your clip is by using this small line that you see here. So right now at default this line is at 0 decibels, and you can just click on the pen tool and click on the line, and then you will get a small dot that you can adjust. If I add another dot and I switch back to the selection tool, then I can just drag these small dots and adjust their volume. And with those engine sounds, I obviously want to have a smooth transition. For example, from this drone shot to the onboard shot, obviously I have to use different sound effects there, and I want to make the transition as smooth as possible. If I don't adjust anything, it's just going to sound like this, and it's just going to start. But if I drag it down now, then you can hear that it slowly fades in and you have a smoother transition. So I basically did that for all of the different sound effects here in order to make them fit. So you probably already noticed when the bike jumps and everything turns into slow motion, how the engine sound actually also turns into a slow motion, just like this one. This is not a slow motion sound effect, but I actually slowed down the engine sound itself. So this is basically what the engine sound sounds like without any adjustments. Yeah, everything is just real time. And in order to get that slow motion sound effect, you just have to select an in point again. So for me, that would be around here where he just jumps into the air. And again, I'm just going to make a cut here. And for this part, I'm just going to right click on it and I'm going to select edit clip in Adobe Audition. Okay, so once you open up Audition, you just have to select the part that you would like to adjust of the sound. So just drag and hold, and then you can select the part of the clip which should be adjusted. I would say something like that. And then you're just going to head up to Effects, go down to Time and Pitch and select Pitch Bender. And in Pitch Bender you have a couple of different presets, but you're going to select Turntable Losing Power. And when you applied that, you can just hit play, and you see that it already slows down, but it slows down too late. So you can just take those small points up here, and we're just going to drag it back here so that the turntable loses its power a bit quicker. So let's now listen to it again. And there you hear it, that the sound just slows down, and I think it sounds pretty good. You can do this with everything. You can do this with music as well. And yeah, I think it's just a really cool effect. You just hit apply and hit save, and now you just jump back into Premiere and you have the effect applied here as well. And there you have it, a really cool slow motion sound effect. The fifth category are movements, and that basically means that I use a lot of whooshes, swishes, impacts, hits, and all that kind of stuff. I feel like sound effect artists talk their own language when it comes to all of the names of these sound effects. Especially for this intro sequence where I have these short sequences where the bike rushes by, I wanted to make these short sequences feel very hard and surprising. I combined some different sound effects to make them sound like this. A hit, a stutter, a swish, and the last one is a more muffled stutter. So yeah, if you combine a lot of those different sounds together, you can create some really cool sound compositions, and especially those stutters. They just kind of transport that motion of kind of like being surprised. So let's listen to the second quick part. That just sounds so epic. So again, these are a lot of different sound effects, but I think that this one just sounds really, really angry and dangerous. Let's see what actually the name of the sound effect was. It says transitions impact trilled alien appearance. So yeah, you don't always have to use sound effects that describe the exact thing that you see in the image, but it gets really interesting if you just use other sound effects in another scenario where they really fit. Yeah, so with these three sounds, you can again hear that they are a little bit more muffled because they are in slow motion. And that's because I again applied the low pass filter on all of them. If I deactivate the filter, that one would sound like this, which is just too sharp for slow motion. So that's why I applied again the low pass filter to all of those. And then obviously when the bike just passes by, when the FPV drone comes close and all that kind of stuff, I also added swooshes there. Also back here, when it switches back from slow motion to real time and all of these rocks fly towards the cam, I used some sound effects to show the movement of these rocks, and it sounds like this. So I used a kind of like a swish up here, and also on top of that an impact, a rock impact large by Boom Library it's called. Boom Library is actually one of my favorite sound effects artists on Artlist itself. All of their different packs are just amazing. For this video I used a majority of their transitions sound effects pack. So yeah, definitely check out Boom Library. So another sound effect that I added here is also a wind sound effect with all of the small adjustments here. So what I basically did is I just looked through the different clips, and depending on how windy it would be in that specific scenario, I adjusted the volume of the wind sound effect. So that basically sounds like this. Yeah, so just depending on how quick the camera moves, those wind sound effects can really add some more reality to your sound design. And especially if you have drone shots and FPV drone shots, this wind will definitely be worth it to add.
Ooh, quite a lot of sound effects.
All right. Let's get to the last category, which are exaggerations. I think that this is the most fun part about sound design, because you not only try to emphasize what you see, but you can actually create some completely new things by adding new sound effects. So if we just scroll down here to the last layer, you can see that I used some exaggerations here. As we enter the second slow motion scene here after the first break with the quick cuts, we have two heartbeats, which are very slow still. And then after the second fast scene, we enter another slow motion scene. And now the heartbeats actually became a little bit quicker to show the viewers that the heartbeat of the driver is kind of increasing as it gets more intense. And after the next quick disrupting cuts, we have again another slow motion scene, which is the last one before we drive off. And there the sound effects are really, really fast. And the best way to speed up your clips is by using Command R. So this is just a normal clip at its normal speed. If I want to speed it up, I just press Command R, and now I can type in the speed which the sound should be. So for me, it would be now 200, for example. And then you see that it's just double as fast as before, and you can hear it as well. That's how I did the heartbeat effect. The last sound effect is the one where the bike just leaps into the air, we switch it to slow motion mode, and you have this ticking clockwork. I think that this one is also a really high quality sound effect. Sometimes you don't really need that many layers of sound effects if the sound effect itself is really high quality. And yeah, I think that this one also really adds to the overall edit. I can now take off my headphones finally. I hope that you learned something new in this small sound design tutorial. Actually a big sound design tutorial, probably it's like 10 tutorials in one. Yeah, I hope that you liked my entry for the Artlist Sound Effects Challenge. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of my edit. So Artlist became my go-to place for good music and high quality sound effects for a couple of reasons. First of all of their songs and sound effects come with an unlimited universal license which covers everything. So that means means that you can use all of their stuff on any kind and size of project. They have a well-designed cluster and filter system for both their music and sound effects, which makes searching for the right audio a lot easier. With a subscription, you have unlimited downloads, and all the music and sound effects you download are yours to use forever, even if you cancel your subscription. And most importantly, everything in their catalog is recorded, mixed and mastered for the highest possible audio quality. When it comes to their pricing, they have 3 different pricing tiers for their subscriptions. You can get their music and sound effects for $25 a month, only their music for $60 and $60 per month, and only their sound effects library for $12.41 per month. If you signed up through my link that you can find in the description, you will get 2 additional months for free on top of your normal subscription. And also I will get a small commission on my side. Also, you're gonna find a link to the Artlist Sound Effects Challenge where you see all of the details on how to participate. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed to get a little bit behind the scenes when it comes to my editing workflow. Let me know if you like those kind of tutorials. If this is the first time that you're watching my videos, feel free to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications if you don't want to miss out on any of the upcoming videos. And I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace out and have a great day. Bye bye.